Hi, I'm Kyle Russell from Arkansas Wushu, and today I'm responding to a video from Gary R. Gillian from KIAI Karate. He went over all the basics in his style and tagged me in it, wanted me to do a bit of a response. I'm not going to go over all the basics again because our styles are so similar that you would be seeing a lot of the same stuff. So instead I'm going to compare and contrast a little bit about how I learned basics. So whenever I started my martial training, I started in Shotokan. It was really interesting going from Shotokan to Kempo or Chuan Fa because of how different the blocks are. So to demonstrate, in Shotokan, every block had a chamber. Like an inward block, the chamber would be straight out, hand by your ear. In Shotokan, you learn to step back, bring the hand back, and block inward, making sure to go just a little bit past the nose. However, in Kempo, there's no chamber, and they don't step back. The only time that we're allowed to step back, usually in the Kempo, is whenever we needed to pull the arm. Like if we're pulling the arm back and stepping up to do an inward block to break, because if the arm was bent, it wouldn't break, so we would step back to pull it straight before hitting it, because a straight arm will break easy. A bent arm won't break at all, not at the elbow joint. So that was one of the main differences in those two styles, is chamber, step back, no chamber, step in. One was obviously significantly faster, one worked a little bit more on form. So where do I end up, training both and having these two widely different principles? Well, I went more with the Kempo side because in a fight you don't always have time, but it helped doing the Shotokan because sometimes straight off of a punch, you see another hit coming, it just automatically, you're already chambered for it. So it really helped knowing both of these methods. So I suggest not only learning your basics, but learning the way different styles do your basics so that you can compare and contrast and see what works for you. Okay, so let's take a second to talk about movement. I had two different instructors with two very, very different ideologies. Shotokan instructor was really good. I mean, he taught over 14 professional fighters, one of the top ranked Shotokan guys in the US, just a really good teacher. My Kempo fighter wasn't a great, my Kempo instructor, he was really good too. He made his reputation being a street fighter, a little less noble, but he really developed his left hook and developed the nickname The Count because often he would get into a fight, would step in with that left hook, and they would be down for the count, and he would win his money and go home. These two instructors were partners, one being a street fighter for money, one fought as a professional kickboxer, and they formed their school. But it was always confusing because whenever I'd fight Kempo, they'd be like, you don't want to be in one place. You always want to move. Whenever I'd fight in Shotokan, you'd be bouncing around everything. The Shotokan instructor will look and be like, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting? It's like you're wasting your energy, you're moving when you don't need to be. So that became a really hard basic to grasp is, do you move or do you not? My Kempo teacher would always be like, well, the reason you're getting hit is because you're still there. They're there. They can tell where you're at. My Shotokan instructor, he would actually take a roll of quarters and say, every time you move and it's not necessary, I'm taking a quarter away from you. I'm going to give you $10 in quarters to start. I'm going to take a quarter away every time you make an unnecessary movement. If you do good, you're going to win a little bit of money. If you do bad, you're going to wind up owing me money. And that would be it. If we'd throw a hit but nothing was open and we weren't trying to create an opening, lose the quarter. Same thing. So it got really hard to tell, when do you move, when do you not move. And that's something you've kind of got to learn to grasp for yourself as well. Me, I suggest always staying away from the power hand, keeping the distance where you're comfortable. I'm a kicker. I like to use my leg to keep them away, especially the side thrust kick and the front kick. But I'm good with my hands, so I like to use the kick to open. So that's what I like to do is kick and move in. And that's where I'll start. And I'll throw a little bit of a combination and move back out. And that way, I'm not where I started. I didn't say where I was going to get hit, but I wasn't just bouncing around everywhere, wasting a bunch of energy that accomplished absolutely nothing. And because you will see that, if you see some fighters that are a little timid of each other, they'll bounce around, they'll bounce, and they'll bounce themselves completely into exhaustion and barely throw a hit at each other. So that's why we came up with that drill. So the movement itself can be a basic. Alright, moving on. When it comes to blocks, we start off with these hard blocks, but I got to where I didn't use them because as you advance a little bit in the systems I learned, you learn soft hand blocks. And these are about the only ones I use today. You've got your inward, your downward, your upward, your outward, and your crane hands, your parries, your hooks. That's what I use most of the time, is just these little hooks or these little pats, because they're real quick. And in Kempo we have something called checking. It's one of the reasons it's known for the slapping art. And I learned it first off of a back fist. It's this technique where when you throw the back fist, you actually touch yourself first to make a little bit of a noise before you ever hit it. So it sounds like you hit him before it did, and it causes just a little bit of a psychological effect. Okay, now as this hand's coming out, this other hand, I hit the muscle right behind my shoulder. And what that does is it causes a retraction. And whenever that muscle happens at the same time, it comes back faster than it would with just that muscle because I'm using two. Alright, so it really creates this psychological effect when I hit someone with a back fist, because there's 1, 2, 3 pats and down. They only see the one motion, but it sounds like 3 hits, 4 if it hits them. That was one of my favorite ways to do a back fist. Just lunge into it. They can't see it. They can't tell. They get used to seeing this hand check. Since this hand is up and moving all the time, it's not a big deal to come out with a palm heel or something as a surprise technique that they're not going to see after they've seen that back fist a couple of times. It makes it really easy to get in. Okay, moving on to kicking. There are a whole bunch of kicks throughout all the systems that I use, between Wushu, Shotokan, the Ichuan Fa or Kempo system that I use has also adopted the Korean kicks from a lot of the Taekwondo system. So, wide variety of kicks. I really recommend picking only 5 or 6 to work daily that you're really going to use. For me, it's the front leg wheel, the inverted, the side thrust, the front thrust, and the crescent kick. I rarely use anything else. There are a whole lot of other kicks, but those are the ones that I personally use because they've done the best for me. I will use them in combination, like, for example, shuffling in with a crescent knife, or coming in with an inverted to a side thrust, just something to kind of throw them off. Alright, and that's kind of like how I like to use my basic kicks. One thing I didn't cover is stances. I like deep stances. I don't like them for fighting. For fighting, I generally like staying in the soft belt. It's where I move easily. I keep 50% of my weight. It's easy to move. I can box from here. I can kick from here. Not a whole lot going on. But whenever I want to develop power, I look to Wushu. And in Wushu, they really practice their stances down deep. The reason for that being, it develops flexibility, it develops leg power, it's going to give you higher jumps, higher kicks, stronger kicks. You know, if you look at a Shotokan bow stance, it's up here. Not very high, easy to move from though, so not bad for fighting. Versus if you look at the Wushu bow stance, it's almost like a complete lunge. Not easy to move from, but it stretches this leg, develops a lot of power. It's actually a weightlifting workout on its own, or a leg workout even outside of martial art, because it's just a lunge. But that lunge we happen to fight from. It's really hard to kick from, but that really helps you learn about shifting your balance. Anyways, this was just a quick video to respond to Gary's. Like I said, I'm not going to go over all the basics. These are just some of the ways I use my basics. Hope you enjoyed this. Check out Gary's. His Facebook channel is KIAI Karate, K-I-A-I Karate. Make sure you go ahead and like and follow. If you haven't liked Arkansas Wushu yet, you can like my Facebook page as well. I put up most of my teachings there. I also share teachings from other instructors that I respect and like. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another kicking class.